Hey everybody, Kevin Strange here. Flying solo again today, as you can see. Um, Mr. Brad is still out with an illness. He may be back this week. He may not be back this week. He may not join us again until Monday, which is it's a shame because this week was supposed to be launch week for his new comic book, Life with Riggs: Legend of Lumpgore. That may continue. It depends on whether Brad's condition improves this week, or if he remains ill through next week. These are things that happen, gang. This is Indie Comics. We are bringing you we're pulling the curtain back, if you will, and showing you all of the trials and tribulations of the creation of comics. And a lot of times, things don't go our way. You have to keep in mind that while we've been conditioned to believe that a deluge of comic books come out every week endlessly, an endless cycle, there's always a new story to tell. It's been a factory assembly line type of art form for generations now. We believe that the pages will just magically appear. But the truth is, behind every comic book, whether it be a giant Marvel or DC comic book or an indie comic book, every page starts blank. Those stories have to be written. Then those stories have to be illustrated. And oftentimes, life, especially for the indie artist, gets in the way. And I'm thankful that Brad didn't launch Legend of Lumpgore before he got sick, and then he would have this campaign there that he wouldn't be able to manage. I think it's a blessing in a way that um, he held off as long as he did, so that he can focus on getting well and not have to worry, but not have that hanging over his head that he's missing days of promotion on his campaign, because campaigning one of these Indiegogo launches is very taxing. It's very stressful. A lot of work goes into it. Um, Lots and lots of man hours go into uh, just running the campaign, let alone having finished your comic book, which is its own daunting task. And lots of us illustrators get on here and complain about the long hours and how much hard work it is. But it's overcompensating. It really is. People think that this is magic. People think that if you have the talent of illustration, that it's just this pleasure. That every moment is, oh, you're living your dream, though. Isn't it great? You're one of the few. Get to do what you love. Oh. But the truth of the matter is it's very hard work, and we just repeat it over and over again, because you tell that to someone point blank and they say, but you love it. And I've been conditioned to believe that if you love work, it's not work at all. It's it's like eating potato chips in front of the television all day, which is all I want to do, but I have to go to my bad job, the place I don't like. That's real work. Have you ever done something you don't like? And that gets old and annoying, and so you end up with this overcompensation on the part of the illustrator, who constantly tells you how much he or she works. And fact is, it's very hard work, and the campaigns are hard work, and that stress, the stress of finishing this book and getting ready for the campaign, may very well be what made Brad sick in the first place. This is, like I said, where we pull back the curtain here on the Strangeville Stinkhouse, and we show you all the nitty gritty, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Before I get into drawing today, I want to pull up the chat, and I would love for you guys, for those of you who watch the show live, I'd love for you to jump in the live chat today and send your well wishes to Brad. He could really use them right now. And I'm sure that he will get in that chat, and he will read that stuff. And hang on, I'm in the wrong spot. And it will, he's bumming right now, gang. He wants to be here. Okay, what's up? You're slowly becoming a member of ZZ Top, Kevin. Says Goodman's Ghost, aka Bo. Yes, my beard is mighty. It's I actually put my clippers on charge a couple nights ago. Like, I need to get this mess under control. I need to get this beard business back into some semblance of normality. But for years and years and years, I worked a night job that wouldn't allow beards, and I finally quit that job a couple of years ago, and I have just enjoyed the fact that now I can be as bearded and burly as I choose to be, and I kind of push the boundaries on that a little bit. But yeah, Brad's frustrated. He wishes he could be here. He wishes he could be working on his comic, and he wishes he could be on the show. And so if you guys that are watching live, just throw your well wishes for him there in the chat so he can see that later. And then if you watch this, if you watch the replay, if you watch this later, put a comment in under the video. Throw a comment in and tell Brad that you're wishing him well. It'll mean a lot to him, and he needs our thoughts and prayers right now, gang. He's not I don't think he's dying, but he's in a pickle, and he could use our support. Get well soon, Brad, if you're out there, says Bo. Hope you're back soon, Brad. Can't wait for the comic, says Josh. Josh Shitsuo Montoya, aka Nixon himself. Got a movie star up in here, gang. Star of Dream Reaper, Dead Shit. He played Colonel Kill Motherfuckers in Colonel Kill Motherfuckers. He played the iconic Cletus Choate in Stiff Jobs. Cletus Choate getting his own spin-off comic book, gang, called Cletus Choate Chokes Ghosts. The Further Adventures of Cletus Choate. Look for that soon. Of course, starred in Cockhammer as Nixon. And what many don't know, Josh Shitsuo Montoya played the Black Mage in that climax of Cockhammer. Comes up out of the book, The Black Mage Diary. Is responsible for the demise of Cockhammer. The Black Mage. Black Mage might make a reappearance in the comic universe as well. Wouldn't that be something, gang? Josh Shitsuo Montoya also star of Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas as the titular character Nixon. Did you play anything else in Smoke Christmas? I don't think so. I think we relegated you to the one role because Nixon has a lot of the heavy lifting in Smoke Christmas. He says, "Yeah, I'm pretty cool," says Josh Shitsuo Montoya. He is pretty cool. One of the coolest dudes I know. I'm going to switch this over. Get all up into my drawing for the day. All right, I've loaded up my page. I'm on page 32 here, gang. 32 of 52. We're almost there. 20 pages to go. This has been, I'm not going to lie. This has been again, I keep doing it. And I know it gets annoying and old. This has been a lot of work. Oh, boy. Do you guys know how much work this is? Ooh, baby, this is a lot of work. I know that gets annoying, and I'm trying to curb my habit there of constantly talking about how much work this is. But having said that, My first comic is 32 pages, so this would be I would be done. This would be I would be inking my final page right now if this was the first issue. Shitty that line. If this was my second issue went 36 pages, so that was a little bit longer. And this issue's 52 freaking pages. So there was a point last week, and I didn't really talk about it on the live stream. I just kind of did my work. There was a point last week where my butt was kicked. It was like right after the first weekend. This is I've been working on these inks for about 10 days now. Boy, about 4 or 5 days into it, I was just not ready. I hadn't done inks in a while, and I knew I had such a long haul ahead of me. And those first few days were rough going. I just did not have my, I wasn't flowing. The pages were hard. They were pissing me off. I was feeling self-conscious about my art style. I felt like I wasn't putting the pages together the way I wanted to, the way I saw them in my head when I was doing the breakdowns and the thumbnails. I thought they were looking better than the final art. The idea of the pages were looking better than the pages themselves, which is not good. And I was bumming there for a bit, and then there just comes a time, man, where it just all starts working. You get back in the habit. Inking becomes like the pen in your hand becomes like a magic wand. Does exactly what you want it to do. And you start to, and you hit like one page. What'll happen is you'll hit one page where you're like, oh fuck, that looks good. That looks better than I imagined, and you get your confidence back. You you get that wind that you need to carry you on through the tough days, and that happened around about page let's say about page 10 or 15. I started to feel like I had my mojo where I wanted it. I started to feel confident about my style again, as it is. I mean, it's not a good style. I have much work to do to become a better illustrator, but for what I'm doing and for what this universe demands, the Hack Movies universe, doing okay. Doing okay. Got a nice 4-star review of the comic on Goodreads today. I guess y'all heard my plea. For some reviews, and I was happy about that. Reviews basically like based on the backyard Zomcom of the same name. This comic book more than lives up to its predecessor, something along those lines. And I'm happy that that's the case. I feel like it is. Like I feel like this is translating exactly as it should. You would ever imagined a Hack Movies comic book adaptation. I'm pretty sure this is what you would have imagined it was going to be. I'm so stoked to be doing it. I went through some major depression a few years ago, existential depression. Just did not understand why I wasn't feeling fulfilled as a creator whenever I would finish a novel. I was working harder and more than I had ever on fiction, and I was writing what I considered to be some really strong stuff, and it just was leaving me empty. For the first time, creatively, I would finish a fiction project and just be like, I feel nothing. This is not what it's supposed to feel like. And I didn't know what to do or where to go. I've never felt like going back into movies was the right course of action. It's a young man's game, and I didn't feel like I had the stamina to keep up with the rigorous schedule of feature films. Um, Old Josh Itsuo Montoya knows what I'm talking about. Bo says, "God damn it! I guess I'll be reviewing number two of it again." Well, or number two of it then. Yeah, there's already two issues out there, buddy. Already two issues of it out there. Josh Itsuo will tell you we used to do some. This is me talking about how hard I work again. Jeez, used to do 16-hour days on set sometimes, and he would remark during the commentaries. We would do audio commentaries and everything, on the disc as we were preparing to release the DVD of the movie, and he would say, I don't even remember any of this from the actual shoot. It's like it's a those long nights starting work at 10 in the morning and finishing up at 4 in the morning the next day. Uh, that's a young man's game. We were young and we were relatively in shape and healthy. Um, for those movies, and I'm not saying we couldn't do it today, but I think it would take a lot longer, a lot more shoot days, because we're not the youngest of men anymore, and maybe we'd get used to it. Maybe you would get back in the habit of it, uh, maybe fairly quickly. But I know that just sitting here for 6 hours and drawing hack movies exhausts me. I told you guys yesterday, the other day, I had to sleep 14 hours the other morning. The other day, I was just so exhausted from my schedule. So I didn't know what to do. I felt like I can't go back to movies. I can't keep writing these novels if it's just making me feel hollow inside and joyless, because it's a lot of work in itself, and just a lot of wasted hours. If you're a writer, you know that the process of writing is spending a lot of time in dark rooms by yourself, and that's fine if you are creating things that make you feel creatively fulfilled. Um, However, if you feel empty and hollow inside after you finish a project, it almost feels like you've wasted your time, and it's not a good feeling. Saving this down now. I have a bad habit of doing a lot of work before I hit save. That's going to get me one of these days. I did a whole panel here with a bunch of skulls, and I hadn't even saved the project. It's going to crash on me one of these days. Go back to the chat real quick. Josh Itzuo says, very true, still to this day. There's one scene in Smoke Christmas that I do not remember filming, but there I am in the scene spitting lines that I don't remember saying. Probably a lot of lines, too. Probably a huge monologue. One of the things that Josh would get so mad at me or for giving Nixon all these lines. And I've told him recently when we were filming the special thank you videos for the campaign tier for our Indiegogo. We did a campaign tier where Nixon and Hogan did a thank you video, private thank you video for that tier, and he was nervous, of course. Hadn't played Nixon in 10 fucking years. I was nervous too, but I had to tell him, like, dude, you're a fucking natural at this. This is, you know, you are Nixon. This is what you do. I don't tell you how to be Nixon. I just tell you what to say. As Nixon, you do Nixon. All his mannerisms and cadence and facial expressions and everything that makes him funny. Nixon's a funny character. And everything that makes him funny isn't the stuff I make him say. I make him say, really, you know, these guys just say standard, generic, white trash ghetto stuff. It's the delivery and the commitment to the joke. Because Nixon and Hogan don't realize that they're characters. Well, I brag all the time about how the universe is meta and they all know they're in movies. But what I mean by that is Nixon and Hogan don't know that they're funny. They're not winking at the camera like they know better than their lines, or that the funny stuff that they get into is silly because it's written that way. There's a sincerity to the stupidity of Nixon and Hogan that makes them funny to me. The reason that I write them, the reason that I'm here 10 years later doing a comic book about these guys is because they are so stupid. They just don't get it. They are going to make the same mistakes over and over and over again in life and never figure out that the biggest obstacle in front of them is themselves and the shit, piss poor decisions they make. And that is, you know, ghetto life. And I see it, and I've seen it my whole life. I've lived in and worked in very low income areas my entire life, and I've watched these characters play out in real life over and over and over again. And the sincerity that Josh brings to the role of Nixon is all his. All his. I just give him stupid stuff to say. And so he would always get mad at me for giving Nixon a bunch of lines, and I'm going, dude, Nixon's the funny one. Hogan's just a silly. He's just a silly, you know, setup. He's a silly setup. Nixon's the punchline. Nixon's fucking hilarious. My favorite Nixon and Hogan thing of all time is Nixon and Hogan in Time Travel Sucks, which is on YouTube if you Google Nixon and Hogan in Time Travel Sucks. It's right there on YouTube. I think it's about 8 minutes long. It's a little promo short film that we made. We made a bunch of them like that. We made Butt Hash. We made Nice and Deficiency. We made That's My Bitch. We made Hack Minions for Life. I think those are all Nixon and Hogan short films. If you haven't seen them, you can Google all those. I think they're all on this channel. Actually, if you just scroll down, you just go to the videos of this channel and scroll down. I'm pretty sure you'll run into those videos. But time travel sucks. It's Nixon and Hogan go back in time to warn Nixon and Hogan about this impending apocalypse. The president has sent Nixon and Hogan back in time to warn themselves that only Nixon and Hogan can save the world, and they get themselves high and totally forget what they were sent back in time for. And there's just this banter back and forth between Nixon and Nixon, future Nixon and present Nixon. That is the funniest stuff in all of hack movies to me. That banter back and forth between Nixon and Nixon is the funniest shit. I laugh to this day. I laugh to tears watching that stuff. He says Josh Schitzel also says, and I also got mad for only having a total of 3 lines in 2 different movies. Yeah, he was real mad at me for a while because we went from Colonel Kill, where I thought that the character would work best mute with no lines, like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. He was my Colonel Kill Motherfuckers was my slasher parody, and I wanted to stay true to that slasher killer, 80s slasher killer vibe by having him. I think he might utter one phrase. I mean, do you remember what he says in that movie? I think he just says "kill" or something like that. Once, and again, Josh was mad or upset, at least, that he didn't get any lines in that movie, that he just kind of sat around and didn't really have any input. He was just the killer guy. But you watch that movie, he owns that role. I mean, Colonel Kill is a character in and of himself. You don't see, like, some actors in big, and he says none. He had no line. He didn't say anything in that whole movie. But some actors you see, no matter what role they play, they're just themselves. They just play themselves over and over and over again. Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis in a Bruce Willis movie, no matter what. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Arnold Schwarzenegger in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, no matter what. Nothing about them changes from movie to movie. Steven Seagal, people like that, they just don't change. They just are themselves, and then they get movies made around them. I challenge you to look at Colonel Kill and then look at Nixon and find me anywhere in those characters that have any similarities whatsoever. The way they move, the way they talk, their facial expressions, and there's lots and lots of close-ups of Colonel Kill's face and lots of close-ups of Nixon's face, and I don't see. And I've edited these movies over and over again, so I have like I know what I have memorized every scene, over and over and over again as I'm editing these things, and I see no similarities between the character of Colonel Kill and the character of Nixon, and that speaks to Josh's. He says none. He says none is the one line in Colonel Kill. I don't remember the context. I know it's supposed to be funny and stupid, but I don't remember the setup to that punchline. But that is a testament to Josh's acting ability. Is his ability to just become the character that I give him. Like when he plays Cletus Stiff Jobs, which was the other, so we went right from Colonel Kill to Stiff Jobs. And Stiff Jobs, the focus switched to Wolfram and Wingate, played by the late, great David Wayne Black and our buddy Thaddeus Starbuckle. And I think, Josh, you may have gotten a little jealous that my kind of on-screen crush went from you to Thaddeus, old Thaddeus Starbuckle. There, he played a bunch of different characters in that movie, and that was basically his movie. And Josh had gone from being my guy that was on screen all the time in all my movies. Then suddenly it was this Thaddeus Starbuckle cat sort of hogging the spotlight, and I didn't think of it that way. I just thought I'm just making another movie, and I gave Josh the role of of Cletus Choate, the baddest hitman on the planet. And the twist in Stiff Jobs was that Wolfram and Wingate, who are much less adept at the hitman career than Cletus Choate, they find Cletus Choate dead in their car. And that fucks them up because, he's the man. Cletus Choate was the dude. And now he's dead. And that's because I was trying to build up Cockhammer as a crazy villain, as the ultimate villain. And the fact that Cockhammer could kill the baddest of all badass hitmen was supposed to put Cockhammer over as a strong villain. And so Josh appears as the dead Cletus Choate, of course, has no lines. But then I have him, Wolfram and Wingate doing monologue flashbacks of like, oh man, Cletus Choate, he's the guy that blah, blah, blah. And then I got flashback scenes of Cletus Choate doing this crazy shit, like killing a mafia family with his own dick and things like that. And there weren't a lot of it wasn't a lot of dialogue for that role. And I didn't think of it. I wasn't thinking of it in that respect. I was telling a story, and I wasn't thinking of the fact that 2 movies in a row that my guy didn't get any action, dialogue action. And I thought he was playing crucial roles. I thought I was still hooking my dude up and making sure he had some real meaty stuff to do in the films. And he was upset that he didn't get to talk a lot. And that old Thaddeus there was stealing my attention. Of course, then I took that into consideration. We talked about it. And he says, oh, how many licks does it take? That's right. We had the big stupid lollipop, and Andrew comes running out the door and screams, how many licks does it take? And goes to hit Colonel Kill in the face with the lollipop, and Colonel Kill catches it in midair, says none, and takes it from him. Oh, this stuff is so stupid. I don't know why you guys even I don't know why you guys even humor me with how dumb this shit is. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, my life is awesome. I get to do this shit every day. This is my life. He says, you're not wrong about that jealousy. But I tried to take it into consideration, and in Cockhammer, we had a fair amount of work to do. There's still Wolfram and Wingate still had their work to do, but Nixon and Hogan had a fair amount of work to do in that film, and I think it's funny. I think Nixon and Hogan's parts are funny. I got Josh to take his dick out right next to my dick, whatever that says about me as a person. Double dong, double. What did I call it back then? I was like, bro, we're gonna do a double full frontal, and he was like, what? I was like, double full frontal, dog. We're both gonna get our dongs out. He's like, why? I was like, because it's gonna be funny, dude. You'll see. And there was a day where, much to the late great Nick Head, much to his chagrin, he was knelt down in front of me and Josh with our pants off, filming our dicks. And to this day, anytime anybody sees Cockhammer, the movie's an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 10 minutes, something like that. There's 20 actors in the movie. I think it's my magnum opus. I think it's the best thing I've ever done. It's just it's an epic no budget. As far as no budget movies are concerned, Cockhammer is just, it's got so many characters and so many different locations and so much stuff going on in it. And all anybody wants to say is, bro, you got your dick out in that movie. I did. Yeah, I did. But bro, it's your dick. I know. Well, my buddy gets his dick out too, but it's your dick. That's funny. That is funny to me. Funny, funny stuff. 2, 3. Oh, let's make it a little bit bigger than that. And oh, wow. Josh, you remember being all embarrassed by that, saying like, "Dude, my family's got to watch this movie because they're like, can you make a cut that like doesn't have my dick in it?" And I was like, "No, no way." You're like, "Why not?" Because this is my movie, dog. This is what I want it to be. Of course, my family wasn't watching the fucking movie. Only poor Josh had to suffer those consequences. Finishing up this face here. You guys are getting like a Hack Movies audio commentary. Today's drawing show. Lots of behind the scenes talk about the film universe. This is the kind of stuff me and Josh talk about on the phone. To this day, you know, we haven't made a movie in 10 years and we get on the phone talking. It's the kind of stuff we talk about. It was just such a big part of our lives. It was such an important part of our 20s. I mean, we made a fuckload of movies, took them to so many conventions. Just, it was who we were. It was my identity. I know it was the identity of a few of the guys, which basically, you know, lived and breathed Hack Movies. Nick, for sure. Nick's whole identity became, I'm the guy who shoots the Hack Movies, and that's why I say he can't be replaced. I don't know if anybody else would ever step up in that regard and just sort of make their whole life and identity, you know, based around making indie movies. That's who we were, man. That's just who we were. We were proud of it. We're so proud of hard work we did. Very good talking about hard work. Going to conventions and seeing how fans responded to our jokes and stuff. It was the guy that helped me edit the movies. He was a real curmudgeon, you know, joyless kind of a guy, and he was always trying to tell me which jokes worked and which ones didn't. We should cut that out. It's not funny, you know. I would tell him he's not the joke police. He doesn't get to decide what's funny for everybody, and I think it's funny. And the important thing is that, you know, my films have the humor that I think is funny in it. Now, I'm not trying to make, you know, I'm not trying to make movies that other people find funny. I'm trying to make movies that I find funny, and we would go to conventions and film festivals and screen the movies, and then we'd have these like moments where a, a scene or a joke that I fought for to keep in the movie would get a big laugh out of the crowd, and I'd be like, "See, I told you that was funny," and he'd say things like, "They're only laughing because they're watching it live." They don't really think it's funny. They just think they're supposed to laugh. I'll be like, dude, you fucking suck. What a joyless fuck. He was a good editor. I think the editing is one of the strongest parts of the movies. I just had to fight to keep my movie together, which I didn't think I needed to do so much. And there are a few jokes that never that didn't make it, that I conceded and said, all right, this guy's helping me. He's doing a lot of work. He's not getting paid. And if I tell him every single suggestion he makes is a load of shit, which I pretty much thought almost every suggestion he would make, as far as creatively, as far as the technical side of editing, he was very good at his job. But when he would sort of editorialize and try to come in as the joke police and tell me what was funny and what wasn't, I would almost always shut him down and tell him, shut up and just make my movie. Shut up and make my movie. And there's a few things that I regret to this day that I went ahead and cut, because he said, I was just throwing him a bone, saying, fine, joke police, take the joke out. One of them was from Cockhammer. There's a moment in the beginning in the second scene with Terrence and Parander and the two girls, when they're all messed up on drugs and having their dialogue about how they need to go get more weed, which is what sort of sets off the whole plot of the movie. There's a moment where Parander says, I'm floating in the ether right now with Darius the fish demon, and we're blah 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 blah, and Darius the fish demon. That line ended up getting cut, and it pissed me off because it was a character that I planned on using again later. I made a lot of references that my editor didn't know were, he couldn't see into my brain. He didn't know what the big plans I had for the whole universe were. So there are moments that that he would call for a cut of some dialogue or a scene, and it would be important to me in like the future of hack movies, like in the universe at large. And Darius the Fish Demon was a character that I had planned on using again in a larger role later, and he had me cut it, and I don't know why I decided to do it, but I did. I cut that line out, and then I put him back in. There's actually a scene in Nixon Hogan Smoke Christmas where a character named Morlock von Schmorlock the Warlock summons Darius the Fish Demon to kill Nixon and Hogan, and you actually see the tentacles of Darius the Fish Demon coming through a dimensional portal through the bathroom door, and so I got my reference in there in the second movie. But I made sure my editor knew. I was like, this Darius the Fish Demon scene would be even funnier if that Darius the Fish Demon line had stayed in Cockhammer to sort of tie the universe together even tighter. Zach says, afternoon, folks. Josh says, yeah, I remember. I didn't want my mom and sister to see my dog. Yeah, I can totally, I can sympathize. But again, my family didn't watch the movie, so I didn't feel the pressure that I put on you, and that sucks. It sucks that I did that, but it's also a really funny scene, and it's like a shocker. It just comes out of nowhere and hits people. And Josh says, Bo says, all for the art. Josh says, hey, did you count the toes? I didn't hear you counting them out. I didn't count the toes, and I probably fucked them up. Let me go in and count those and make sure that I did them all correctly. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I did it right. I freestyled those toes. I could have ended up with the big toe on the wrong side. I do all kinds of dumb shit. I almost drew an extra finger on this hand over here. Do all my hands at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting my fingers now, making sure that that all that's good. And Zach Hawkins comes in and says, "Afternoon, folks. Afternoon, Zach. I'm a little slow on the chat. I apologize. I try to get in here and look at them as quick as I can." Bo Goodman's Ghost says, "More people, the merrier." Yeah, it's good to see you. I am, for those that are just joining us, I am flying solo today because Brad is out sick. He is ill, and he needs our well wishes. He's got a comic book that's about ready to launch called Life with Riggs, The Legend of Lump Gore, and it's a 32 issue full color indie comic. Brad's first. He does all the illustrating. He does the pencils, the inks, the colors, the breakdowns. His wife does the lettering, and they do the finishes together. And he's been like a graffiti style gross out artist his whole life, and he's just now deciding to throw his hat into indie comics. And he wrote this comic book as an adaptation from a puppet show he does on YouTube called Life with Riggs. And actually, I need to link those into the. Now that I think about it, I need to link those into the description. I'm going to do that. I'm going to link all of the Life with Riggs episodes into the description so you guys can watch the episodes. All right. Well, page 32 is done. As far as inking is concerned, I got a lot of work to do with color there, obviously. I'm going to get into another page, gang. Get into another page. Page 33. Oh, this is a good page. This is a good page right here. This is a real good page. Oh, man. Spoiler alert, gang. Spoiler alert. This is an important scene. Nixon and Hogan have escaped the Deadlands. They're back in the earthly realm, and Don DeWepe escapes the magical prison that Ahomana trapped him in at the end of issue 2, and he's got some business to attend to. As Tony's still getting butt raped by Ahomana and her she-dick, Don DeWepe here casts a spell and turns Tony's giant zombie body into a hideous horror, as you can see. Oh, that was a fun one to pencil. Obviously, I love drawing monsters, so I like that shit. It's here. Okay, happy with all that. We'll jump back into the chat here in just 1 second. I'll save as. $33.8. Okay, back to the chat. Way to get banned from YouTube, Kevin. Yeah, this is it's all very explicit, although it's art. So I don't know if this is all. I don't know if this is allowed or not. I don't really care. This isn't a monetized channel, so I'm not trying to make money off of the stream itself. So as far as there being girl dong and titties, I don't necessarily see the problem with it. This is art. Art is sometimes explicit, especially my art, especially the Hack Movies art. Think about this. Let me pop this back out real quick. Imagine me trying to make this as a movie. These two are giants. This is a giantess with 3 eyes in her head and a girl dong. And Tony is a giant, and he's got zombies sticking out of his face, normal sized giants sticking out of his face, and then his whole torso gets transformed into a cosmic horror. How could I ever do that in a live action film? This is just, I get to take hack movies to the next level with this comic stuff. It's just a joy. It's a joy to be able to bring this kind of storytelling into the hack movies universe. So jazzed about it. So excited to get this third issue into your guys' hands and then move on to the next project, which will just expand the hack movies universe even bigger. And I'm really getting. I haven't been excited about conventions in years. The horror scene has gotten just as woke as everywhere else, and so it's all about social justice and all this nonsense. There's plenty of drama in the horror convention community involving me, as there is the rest of the any community I find myself in. There ends up being drama, and I don't think I'm a drama magnet. I think it's just people resent me for what I'm able to accomplish, and maybe they aren't able to accomplish the things that they set out to accomplish, and I'm just just me. I'm just a fat guy from the Midwest, and I think that they get a little case of the envies and do their best to try to shut me down. And the thing is I don't get shut down. You can't humiliate me. I was humiliated more by junior high bullies than by anything an adult could ever do to me. You're never gonna make me feel as isolated and alone and humiliated and awful about myself. You're never gonna get my self-esteem to the point that it was when I was a kid. It's just not going to happen. I've already lived through all that, and it's why I am who I am. It's why my personality developed the way that it did. It's why I can withstand all of this nonsense. But anyway, I haven't felt like going out there and selling stuff because it's just drama and stupid people. And I don't mean the fans at all. The fans are great. The fans have always been so good to me on the horror convention circuit. The issue started when I quit ignoring the other um, sort of call them creators, the other vendors at horror conventions. I started to I was given some advice that I didn't particularly think was valid, but decided to give it a try anyway, from another vendor who told me that people on the convention scene didn't like me because I didn't associate with them enough. I didn't go to the after parties, and I didn't try to hang out and do all the crazy shit that the other vendors do at horror cons. And so wrongly, I decided that I would do that. I would become that guy. I didn't drink alcohol from the time I was 23 until the time. That's not enough of a baby bottle top. There we go. I didn't drink alcohol from the time I was 23 until I was 30. And the entire time I did hack movies, I didn't drink. And so every convention I went to, when everybody else was getting fucked up, I was going to bed, or I was watching movies, and I wasn't participating in the debauchery. And I was told that people thought that I was stuck up because I didn't come out and party with everybody. So I made the decision when I went back out on the road with Strange House that I would start drinking with everyone else, and I would sort of become a part of the convention party community, and that was a big mistake. I became social media friends with everybody, and I I told you guys a while ago about that period in one of these shows, one of these episodes. There was a period of my life where I was more depressed than I'd ever been. Whenever I was trying to be a social media guy, I was trying to be a popular social media figure, and that was that era, that Strange House era, where I was going to conventions and I was trying to be part of the party kid club, and I was trying to impress a bunch of degenerates, I guess is the best way to put it. And I think everybody in that sort of situation eventually gets involved in some drama, some way or another. Uh, I don't handle drama well. I don't care about social status enough to invest my uh, mental and emotional energy into that. And that's all I was really doing for a while. And I got involved in this drama with these people, and they were trying to social media shame me and all this nonsense. And it was very taxing, stressful, and ultimately had nothing to do with the fans or the books I was trying to sell. Um, and I eventually tapped out and kind of quit going to conventions altogether. I've done a few sporadically here and there, but for the most part, I've just dropped out of the scene. And I don't even go to horror conventions anymore uh, because I don't want to deal with the drama. And these comic books, I'll jump back in the chat just a second. Let me count these toes for Josh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Um, these comics, for the first time in a long time, have me saying, but what are the fans on the road going to think? What are the convention fans going to think of this? These crazy comic book stories I'm telling. And I haven't felt that way I can't even tell you. I don't know if I ever wrote a novel and at the end of the novel thought, I can't wait to see what the fans on the road are going to think of this novel. And that's not knocking the Strange House fans that I met along the way, because we had a lot of fans and a lot of support. And those strange heads that have supported me with my fiction are some of my most passionate fans. And I don't mean it like that. I mean it like writing fiction was a personal thing. I was telling a story very intimately, and when I finished telling the story, it was done. And anybody who read the story was like, "Cool, I'm happy you read that. I'm happy you liked it." But it was like my work was done when the story was told. With hack movies, I feel like the story isn't told until the fans get to see it. I was saying yesterday, I feel like we're all in this together. That hack movies is a communal experience. I get to tell the stories, but the stories are for you. And I thrive, my energy and enthusiasm for these stories come from how you react to them. I make these to make you laugh, if that makes sense. I didn't write novels to make people laugh. I didn't write funny novels. Um, I wrote really depressing novels, and I don't think I wanted to make people depressed. Like, imagine that. Like, I write this harrowing, horrific, depressing novel, and then finish it and be like, I can't wait to see how depressed this makes my fans feel. That's not how I felt. Like I was just getting it out of me. I felt like I was telling all the I was like cleaning all the garbage out of my soul whenever I would write those novels. And I never felt like it was a good thing that other people would get that garbage put on them. But with hack movies, since it's comedy, since this is ours, that we built this together, I finished these comics and I want you to read them and laugh. That's what makes me want to make more. Uh, Bo says, would have made a great stop motion scene. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool to do this as stop motion? That would be neat. That would be very Very cool. I've been going to art classes in college, and I met these twin girls who've done some stop motion stuff, and their stuff is really cool. And I would love to get them involved in doing like a short hack movies stop motion thing. We're also talking about doing some animated stuff, gang. Maybe a cartoon. Bringing old Josh Itzwell back into the mix, so he can do the voice of Nixon in a cartoon. How cool would that be? Zach says there's just no pleasing some people. Yeah, you're right. Some people there is no pleasing, and the less you try to please people, I think, better, because you're just going to end up disappointing yourself trying to please others. Poor Tony gets fucked up so bad in this comic. I feel so bad for him, and that was sort of as I was writing this comic, sort of the joke is like, how much shit can I put Tony through? Like, how can I pile it on and make it even worse and even worse? Because Tony doesn't survive the meeting with Ehomana at the end of the movie. Tony gets axed in the face and dies, and that's the end of Tony. The movie's only a couple minutes longer than that. It's a short film. This is sort of a feature-length adaptation of Dead Shit, the movie. It's like a feature-length comic book adaptation, and so I had the like breathing room to really give Tony some more stuff to do. And unfortunately for him, ain't any of it good. And the sort of comedy of the, of the whole thing for me was to just see how bad things could get for him. Like, you you freaking kill him. How much worse can it get than killing him? I was like, well, we'll find out. We'll see how bad it can get for old Tony here. And boy, oh boy, does it get bad. Three, four figures. No, not quite. Kind of goes off into nowhere. Okay. I think we're at about our hour. And I want to hit you guys with all that many spoilers. You end up seeing the whole comic book here. Brad keeps taking days off. You guys are going to end up seeing me draw the entire freaking comic. I think we're going to call it good there. I did like a page and a half for you guys today. That's not bad. You guys got to see some pretty cool junk. Oh, wait. There we go. That's looking good. Freak Show Music, welcome. Yes, these are in-game spoilers. I'm drawing the storyboards. Drawing the storyboards to the final scenes of Endgame. All righty, fellas. I appreciate your. Oh, hang on. Let me become human again. Let me turn human again. Okay, hello. I'm a person again. As I said before, we got more people watching now than at the beginning of the show. Brad is out sick. He's got some. He's got a pretty gnarly illness right now, and he might not be here for the rest of the week. So for those watching live, if you haven't already, throw Brad T Bone, Brad to the Bone, creator of Life with Riggs, the Legend of Lumpgore, coming soon to Indiegogo. My co-host, the guy that talked me into doing this drawing show to begin with. Throw him some well wishes, some thoughts and prayers, if you will, into the chat piece. And if you're watching this in the replay, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Tell Brad you hope he feels better. It'll help. He'll look at them. And right now, gang, Brad's in a bad way, and he could really use the comments and well wishes. It'll make him feel better. He really wishes he could be here right now, and he wants to launch Life with Riggs, the comic book, on Indiegogo this week. And wouldn't you know it, boom, stricken with an illness that's keeping him down low. That's how it happens sometimes, gang. Indie art, indie comics. It ain't all pretty. Things don't go exactly the way we want it to all the time. You gotta shuck, jive, dodge those life bullets, man, that come at you. You gotta adapt. You gotta be ready for them. And the key to longevity in this indie world, where you're not making a ton of money, you don't necessarily have sick days from a big corporate office you can take. You're not making art for the big boys. You're making art for yourself. The key to longevity in all this, gang, is you gotta be willing to compromise with life. You gotta be ready for these big obstacles, and you gotta say, you know what? Throw the worst you can at me. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna find a way to succeed, no matter what. So I'm gonna leave you with that, gang. We hope Brad can join us tomorrow. He may not. He may not be back until Monday. And if that's the case, that's the case. We'll keep doing this show. We're going to keep things going for Brad. My name's Kevin Strange. This is the Strangeville Stink Show. Stay strange and stinky.